Okay, so we created a simple application. We modified it a little bit, um, but I'd like to introduce to you the concept of components. Concept of components. So React and Angular and all these frameworks are very strong on introducing the concept of components. Right, the idea that these are self-contained, modular little pieces that of behavior and presentation, right? That are you can test individually using unit tests, and then you can build more complex applications just by combining these low-level components into higher-level components. So let's create our very first trivial, super de-duper simple component. Let's go here in our favorite IDE, and here instead of having this h1 here, you might want to create a component that you can reuse over and over, right? So instead of just having this hard-coded HTML there, you might want to create an entirely different component that you can reuse. So presumably app is not reusable because that's the root of the application, yes? It's not like you're going to have lots of apps, right? It's just be one root application, and then you can have lots of little components underneath. So a good practice is to create all your components in a directory called components. Right, and there'll be different types of artifacts that we're going to be building. Right, first of all, we'll start with components. Then we'll introduce containers. We'll introduce reducers, services. But let's start with just the components today. So in here, we're going to create a JavaScript file. So all components are just plain old JavaScript files. So we'll call it here hello.js. And usually they're camel cased with capitalized, first letter capitalized. And we are going to add to our repository. And all components need to import the React library. Okay. You don't need to import the DOM library ever again, right? The DOM library is only imported in the index.js, right? Because that's the only place where you actually do the mapping between high-level React components into the low-level DOM. Right? It's only done using the React DOM render. Right? It's done all here. This is the only place when you'll ever have to use React DOM. Okay. So in your hello, the way you implement components is typically by creating a class called the same name as your file, right? And you extends the React.component class. So component, oops. Notice that React now is a namespace that contains all sorts of other components in there, right? And you can refer to any of those components inside of the namespace of React. Once you've done this, the React component implements a single method, right? Well, actually, no, it has a constructor. It has one particular method that we need to override, right? Is the render method. The render method is what the somebody when is trying to render this component will call the render method, and whatever the render method returns is what eventually is going to actually be rendered. Yes. So we can say return, and whatever the return here returns, here we can say hello world again. Okay. So that's what's going to be rendered. And finally, this the visibility of this class is only file wide, right? Only inside of the class can I see this namespace. So basically, this class behaves like a module, right? I am not littering the space, right, the namespace, and declaring this hello component for others to trample on, right? I can specifically decide what is it that I want to export from inside of this namespace. We can say export. Default is the default namespace. So you can choose which names that you want to export it to, but default is the most common. And I'm exporting hello as being the default component, right? That is, I can have many components in here. Right? I can export the entire library of components in here, but here's the default component that is exported from this module. Okay. So once we have that, we can go back to app. Instead of having this hard-coded H1, instead I can import my brand new component, export hello from components hello. Notice that the IDE already is smart enough to know where these components live, and it automatically fills in the gaps for me. So it already knows that it's under components hello, and it brings it in. Once I have this, I can now remove this low-level element, right, with the higher level hello component right there. Yes, right. And when I go back, uh, the rendering, where are you? Slides, or where are you? There we go. Hello world again. Yes. So I was able to change that. So I guess we should bring this out on its own and make this big so that I can see it from my IDE. Where's my IDE? There we go. So we can have these side by side. All right. And any changes that I make to hello, I can navigate inside of hello um, and change this. Now hello, goodbye. See right now, notice the IDE is complaining. It's complaining because the IDE is no spelling, and I'm spelling it wrong. No, it's complaining because I'm breaking one of the syntax rules of the return, right? React when once all components need to return just a single top level element, right? So for instance, if I want to return something that's a little bit more complex, I need to somehow, put it inside of something bigger, right? Okay, now it's happy. I'm returning just one single element, and in there I'm free to make any complexity there. So if I go there, there it is. Hello world again. Goodbye. Everybody good? All right, and it's reusable. It's reusable in the sense that I can now copy this hello and just paste it many times. And whatever behavior or rendering, it's implemented inside of that little component. It's encapsulated, and I can just reuse it just by copying and pasting it. So I can go back and it just renders many times. Make sense? All right, let's go to something a little more interesting. Hi everyone, Jose here. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a like. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you have any questions or suggestions, make sure to leave a comment down below. Bye.